grief does, and you know, as much as grief does surface for me around not having children and not having a partner, I still wouldn't want the wrong partner.
That's a great point for people to hear.
I'm not interested in that. You have to make my life better. It can't just be, you know, I'm in a relationship to be in a relationship. So
Wait. What? This woman doesn't want to be in a relationship with the wrong person, meaning this person has to make her life better. Well, let me ask you this. Who actually wants the wrong person? You know what? Let me welcome you guys to another episode of Wall Watch, where we see how women respond to hitting the wall. Today we have Tracey Ellis Ross, who is going viral because she's talking about the grief that she's experiencing. So the questions that I have going in is, are people actually looking for the wrong person, or are people actually looking to find the best person? Now, what actually is the best person or the perfect person? Does that person exist? Comment your thoughts under this video. Now, we're definitely going to finish this clip and then we're gonna have this conversation. So make sure you make your thoughts known. Also, like the video, then subscribe to the channel because I'm posting daily content. My name is Bertrand. I am the coolest dude on the planet and I'm your friend. Confidence and clarity is the goal. So here we go.
And you know, as much as grief does surface for me around not having children and not having a partner, I still wouldn't want the wrong partner.
That's a great point for people to hear.
I don't.
It's such a great point that it makes me say, well, you know, this woman is not 16, she's not 18, she's not 21, she's not 25. This woman is not even 30. This woman is in her 50s. At some point in time, you have to realize you have to settle if you want someone. Because you know what? Let's continue.
I'm not interested in that. You have to make my life better. It can't just be, you know, I'm in a relationship to be in a relationship. So even though the grief does emerge and that comes and I hold that, I think of what I've done. And I think of, I woke up every morning trying to do my best. I didn't wake up one morning and be like, I'm going to mess this day up.
That's right.
So I must be where I'm supposed to be. And I don't know. Sometimes I think of all of the things I've done, the courage that I've had to have and what I've had to learn how to navigate as a single person with no one to hide behind.
Yeah.
And it's built.
No one to hide behind or no one to blame? Let's continue.
It's a really beautiful experience around me. And I have incredible friends. And you know, as much as...
Are you guys thinking what I'm thinking? All of the things that she's done and all of the things that she's accomplished, why isn't she saying any of this with a smile on her face? Why does it not look like she actually accomplished something great? Because let me tell you guys this. I believe her. The reason I believe this woman, as far as like all of her accomplishments and everything that she's had to sacrifice and everything that she's had to do, is because being in the entertainment business is one of the hardest careers that you could possibly have, because you have to have certain connections. Most importantly, you have to find a way to stay relevant. And with your connections also have to be busy doing things, because if you don't, a lot of people don't know this, but it is hard to make it as an actor or an entertainer, because if you don't have the right connections and if these people are not working in your favor or working for you or helping you get work or referring you to work, it's going to be tough. I mean, it's going to be so tough that you may actually have to choose something else to do with your life. Now, I could say this woman definitely has the connections. Now, when I was listening to her speak, there was a few things that popped into my mind. 3 things that popped into my mind while listening to her speak was selfish, hard to get along with, and stuck in her own ways. Now, these are the reasons why I hear older men say they do not want to date an older woman. Now, what we also can say is that pretty privilege definitely ran out for this woman. Now, I'm only saying that because she's not getting the results that she's looking for, right? She's out here, she's still dating. And for what she looks like, her age, she looks great. But here we go again. Can she actually get along with a man? Now, here's what I find funny when I hear people talking about the wrong person. Do people understand that there is no perfect person? The only way to have a perfect relationship is to create it. That is the only way. I get it. You're not gonna find that with every single person. This is why when you do have a relationship with someone, it is on you to actually work at it, because both people are settling down. Yes, ladies, I know y'all probably don't want to hear that, but here's the thing. Your looks actually start to fade, meaning you're not as beautiful as you once were. And some women actually let themselves go. Now, I don't date men, but I can tell you that yes, some men let themselves go. Sometimes life just beats up on a person. We all have damage. We all have traumas. We all have obstacles. We all have experiences that have molded us to be whoever it is that we are. And we also have things that are constantly molding us. So the best way to say that would be you're either regressing or you're progressing, right? You have to choose which way you want to go in life. Also, when it comes to the wrong person is usually the wrong person because you probably didn't teach them how to talk to you, right? Because I hear women constantly say, oh, I don't need no man. Well, men need to feel needed, just like a woman. A woman needs to feel needed, wanted, desired, or else you're not going to get the best out of that woman. It's the same thing for a man. If you do not feed his ego, if you do not make him feel good, if you do not praise him, guess what? His confidence is not as high. If his confidence is not as high, he doesn't believe he can protect or provide for you, ladies. So you must learn how to speak to that man. Now, every man is different. Every man is encouraged by different things, by different words. You have to figure it out. Now, he should be better at communicating that, but you also have to be willing to accept it, because again, if you want the perfect relationship, it is on you to build. Now, when I think of regret, I don't think of anything positive. I'm saying that because I know there's plenty of women out here who are constantly saying, oh, I'm not gonna settle. I'm just not gonna settle. I'm not settling with the wrong person because, and then I'm just listening. I'm like, but do you understand how many times you've been the wrong person for somebody? In fact, let me just say this. When it comes to the wrong person, when it comes to grief, there are 2 million more women on the planet than there are men. So if every man married, that means it would still be 2 million more women left over. My question is, what would they sound like? What would they do? How would they live life? How would they cope with the fact that they were not chosen? Now, we can look at this woman, this beautiful woman here, and say, I'm sure she had a whole bunch of chances, but she was never willing to settle. Again, when it comes to relationships, you will do what the other person wants to do, at least sometimes, because if you don't, that person is not going to stick around because they're not going to feel appreciated. They're not going to feel heard, right? We live in a different day and time where the roles between men and women are different. We do need each other, but we don't need each other in the same ways that we used to need each other. Now it's a little bit different. It's more, let's say, action oriented, right? Like that's kind of where we are. As far as survival, let me say it this way. COVID taught me a lot about relationships and people. When it comes to survival, when it comes to knowledge, when it comes to experience, when it comes to leadership, you want to be with someone who is capable of leading. You want to be with someone who is capable of making logical decisions, right? And you got to be open to what that woman can provide, because we're living two different experiences. For instance, I had this conversation with a woman that I believe is absolutely gorgeous, right? We had a little issue, and the issue was the communication, right? And she was like, well, why didn't you ask me this? And I'm like, well, based on how everything lined up, there was no way I was gonna ask that question. I know I'm leaving it vague for you guys, but I'm doing that because I'm kind of just protecting that conversation. But at the same time, I want you guys to understand that we kept going around in circles, right? We kept having the same conversation for about 5 or 10 minutes, where she would say what she said, I would say what I said, and I said, wait, hold on. Enough of this dancing around. Here's what the issue was, right? So I'm saying that to you guys to get you to think about what communication actually is, because we all think that we're great communicators, but if we were that great of a communicator, the person that we are closest to would understand exactly what we're saying. But that's not what's happening. So now let's just talk about grief. I don't think there's anything positive about grief unless you use it as some type of motivation that you get out of, right? For instance, when I think of grief, I think of regret, I think of frustration, I think of depression, I think of, man, I should have did this instead of doing that. Man, I should have did that. And like, that's what I see. That's what I think, right? For instance, she's at the grandmother age, right? No children, no grandchildren. She did not complete the cycle of life. I'm saying that to you guys because my sister is a grandmother. In fact, I'm a parent myself. So when you have children, what happens is you now get motivation from different sources. Your determination, the things that you're inspired by are different, because when you have someone that is relying on you, right? When you have somebody else that you're responsible for, life is different. Life is more colorful. Life can be more frustrating, or it can be more motivating, right? Because now you realize, you know what? I got to do this for somebody else. That is a powerful thought. That's how we're in this situation that we're in with this technology, the communication, being able to see each other and deal with each other, having access to everybody in the world. This is how this is happening, because people have been motivated by different things. Now, the reason why I'm responding to this is because I see a lot of women who pretend to be strong in front of cameras and in front of people, but I've went on dates with these women and they have told me that they cry at night when they're at home in that bed with that that glass of wine. They're not always happy. In fact, the wine brings out some of the worst things, or I see a lot of depression that actually comes out when women are drinking wine. And guess what? They love wine to wind down. Ooh, it's rough. I respect the honesty that this woman is bringing to us, because what she did or what she's doing is she's expressing her truth. That's why she's on Wall Watch, because we're getting a chance to see what it looks like for a woman who's older, who was successful in her career, but not successful in her personal life, because she wants a personal life. The majority of us do. Now, what I learned from this clip and from this woman is the more money a woman makes, the more she disqualifies herself from actually having the man or a man that she actually wants. The reason why this happens is because her money and what she's doing becomes more important than the man. For instance, one thing that I always do in dating is I like to test the woman to see how important I am to her. Because if I'm not important enough to that woman, there's things that she's not going to do for me. There's things that I will say to her that she'll reject, or that she'll overlook, or that she'll just ignore, right? Now, I'm saying this because the majority of women want you to be, they want to be the number one priority. Right? So if she wants to be the number one priority, she has to show me that I am her number one priority. If we don't have that established, I understand the relationship is off balance. Again, when we talk about settling, The most important thing about settling is being able to deal with the other person. No one's perfect. We're all working on ourselves. This is why it's important for us as men to constantly adapt and to constantly reinvent ourselves, because life is constantly changing. Things are getting better, but worse. So you kind of have to take the good with the bad and just make the best out of it, right? For instance, you gotta take lemons and turn it into lemonade, apples and make all kind of stuff, apple cider vinegar, apple juice, you guys get it. Here's the point, fellas, work on yourself. Figure out what your purpose is, something you are passionate about, and work diligently at that. Figure it out, master it, and then enjoy life the best way you possibly can. Because one thing I know about life is if you checked into this life, you definitely are going to check out. We just don't know how. So enjoy your life the best way you can. Adapt to dating. You're gonna come across women like this, and they're not gonna have a sense of direction as far as relationship goes, because they're focused on whatever it is that they're focused on. When you know this, you can move out the way and you can continue on living your life the best way you can. That's what this whole channel is about. Being able to see what's going on, building up your confidence, and living life the best, getting the best out of life. But I do have a question for you. What do you think? Comment under this video. Remember, when you are watching these videos, you are becoming the best version of yourself. Now that this video is done, do me a huge favor. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.